What if I told you that somewhere in Tokyo, surrounded by empty ramen cups and glowing anime posters, a man in pajamas was about to break the entire Japanese stock market? December the 8th, 2005, 9:27 a.m. A single keystroke. One trade, 2.6 billion yen profit in 20 minutes. The financial world didn't just notice, it trembled. But here's the part that'll keep you awake at night. This wasn't some Wall Street wolf in an Armani suit. This wasn't inherited wealth or insider secrets whispered in boardrooms. This was a man the world called unemployed. Meet BNF, the ghost who haunts every trader's nightmare. The legend who turned $13,600 into $153 million from a bedroom that looked more like a gamer's den than a trading floor. No Harvard MBA, no corner office, no briefcase. Just pure, terrifying genius. And an obsession with a game everyone said couldn't be won. They call him the JCOM Man after that legendary trade. But long before he became Japan's most feared day trader, before the billionaires came knocking, he was just Takashi Kotogawa, a kid with a dream his entire country laughed at. What you're about to discover isn't just a trading story. It's the tale of how one man's refusal to accept impossible as an answer changed everything we thought we knew about money, markets, and what's truly possible when genius meets obsession. But to truly understand the legend, we first have to meet the boy who became a ghost. (1989). Japan is drunk on success. The economy was too good to be true. Money flows like water. Everyone's getting rich. The entire nation believes the party will never end. Warning signs are ignored. Banks force citizens to take massive loans with historic low interest rates. Corporations take loans to pump into real estate and stocks. But every party has a hangover. March 1991. The music stops. The Japanese market fell under great threat. A massive financial bubble bursts, one no one saw coming. The whole system crashes. Stock prices crater 70%. Millions lose everything overnight. They called it the lost decade, but for an entire generation, it felt like the end of the world. In the middle of this financial apocalypse, in a small apartment in Ichikawa, a 13-year-old boy named Takashi Kotogawa is doing what he always does: playing games, eating ramen, watching anime. While adults around him panic about mortgages and unemployment, Takashi is discovering something that will change everything: patterns. Unlike other kids, Takashi wasn't just playing games for fun, he was playing to win. Every opponent he faces isn't random, every move has a tell, every strategy has a counter. He doesn't just play games, he dissects them, predicts them, masters them. Little did he know this was training that would reward him years later in the stock market, or that he would become one of the greatest bedroom day traders in history. His parents tell him the usual: save money, follow the rules, get a safe job. Classic advice from a generation that just watched safe investments vanish into thin air. But Takashi? He's learning a different lesson entirely. Fast forward to college. Takashi was living the student life, not quite certain of his purpose. But one thing was certain: ramen, anime and sake when he could afford it. A daily ritual he enjoyed. Until one day, he stumbled across a TV documentary that lit a fire in him. One that made him believe he could outsmart the system. It was a 4-part series on the wild world of finance. And the first episode, The Man Who Lost 50 Million, introduced Victor Niederhofer, a hedge fund legend who bet big, lost bigger, and lived to trade another day. Takashi watches, transfixed. Here's a man who treats trading like the ultimate game. No boss, no schedule, no rules except the ones you make. Pure intellectual warfare against the market itself. It was a night that changed his life forever. Niederhofer's reckless genius, the thrill of the markets, the freedom. It was the life he'd been dreaming of. That night, Takashi Kotogawa let go of who he was. From then on, he would be known only as BNF, a quiet tribute to Niederhofer, the man who lit the fire. But unlike Victor, Takashi had no wealth, no connections, just a burning obsession to outsmart the system. He was a broke college kid with zero trading knowledge and no capital. The odds were brutal, but giving up wasn't in his DNA. He took on grueling part-time jobs, night shifts, weekend gigs, scraping together every yen while surviving on cheap ramen and sheer grit. In stolen moments between classes and work, he pored over price charts of the Japanese Nikkei index, teaching himself the market's language. No trading books, no fancy software, no mentors, just Takashi, a pen, and a dream. The patterns start revealing themselves. Like his old video games, but with higher stakes. The market has tells, rhythm, a heartbeat. He can feel it. March 2000, he's ready. He stepped into the market as an unknown, self-taught, untrained, but dangerously disciplined. After 2 years of grinding through charts and saving every yen he could, he'd scraped together 1.6 million yen, about $13,600. Now he was ready to prove the world wrong. The dot-com bubble explodes the same month he starts trading. The market doesn't just fall, it plummets into hell. Professional traders with decades of experience are wiping out. Hedge funds are closing. The financial media is calling it the worst crash in years. And BNF? He's hemorrhaging money faster than he made it. His savings bled out. This is where most people quit. This is where dreams go to die. But remember, BNF learned patterns from games where losing meant starting over. He doesn't see failure. He sees data. Back to the drawing board. Every loss dissected like a murder scene. Every failed trade analyzed until it surrenders its secrets. Then the revelation that changes everything. Fear makes people stupid. The bear market of the early 2000s ran on pure fear. It was an emotion BNF had trained himself to overcome through countless gaming defeats. While everyone panics, BNF sees opportunity. When traders are terrified, they oversell good companies just to escape the pain. It's psychological warfare, and BNF just found his weapon. But even genius needs practice. Months pass. More losses pile up, more red numbers. His savings shrink like ice in summer. Most people would break. Most people would go get that safe job their parents recommended. But BNF doubles down on the pain. He goes back to study the losing charts, and then he notices something crucial. His losses clustered in specific sectors, each with unique deviation patterns. Stocks swinging wildly from their averages. It's like discovering that different video game bosses have different weaknesses. So he tweaks his approach, tailoring his strategy to each sector's rhythm. By focusing on extreme dips, stocks dropping 65% or more off their 25-day moving average, he finds the sweet spot. Slowly, his trades start flipping green. December 2001 arrives with devastating news. A massive crash in penny stocks rocks the market, and traders just like him were stuck in the chaos. But BNF had trained differently. When others saw a crash, he saw 20% deviation opportunities everywhere. These were companies with strong brands trading at fire sale prices. A lot of his online trading buddies on 2channel are panicking, buying everything that looks cheap. It looked like the perfect buying opportunity, but BNF saw a problem with the sudden sales and passed. Having learned that different sectors have different points of rebound, now was no different. While others were stocking up on the fire sale, he only focused on the extreme cases. Not cheap stocks, devastated stocks. Companies so beaten down that fear had completely divorced their price from their value. He pulls the trigger. 48 hours later, his stocks are up 50%, some double. In 3 days, he makes more money than most people see in a year. By late 2002, Takashi's account hits $1 million. From bedroom trader to millionaire in 2 years. The kid in pajamas was no longer a nobody. But then, just as quickly as his success came, the market itself was about to change, and BNF would have to evolve or die. – 2003 arrives, and just when BNF had started to master the bear market, the world shifts into a massive bull run. Suddenly, everyone's an investing genius again. Fear transforms into greed overnight. The bull market begins. For most traders, this is paradise. Easy money, rising tides, everyone wins. For BNF, it's his worst nightmare. His entire strategy was built on fear. He needed panic to profit. But now, pure optimism everywhere. His contrarian approach is like bringing a snowball to a desert. His edge? Completely gone. With millions on the line, BNF faced his greatest challenge yet. The game had fundamentally changed. Most traders would stick to what worked, ride the wave, hope for the best. BNF scraps everything. If you can't beat the bull, ride it. But how? Just like with his previous strategies, BNF spotted a new pattern. In a strong market, core companies like those tied to the Nikkei rise together, but not simultaneously. There are always laggards, companies that should rise but haven't caught up yet. The strategy: find the laggards, buy them, wait for the market to realize its mistake. Everything changes, from dozens of trades per week to a few per month, from quick scalps to patient positioning, from fighting the market to dancing with it. 2 years later, in 2005, his account swells to $10 million. BNF has now survived and thrived in both bear and bull markets. He's proven he can adapt, evolve, and overcome any market condition. He was living the dream. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could prepare him for what came next. The trade that would make him a legend. The JCOM incident. December the 8th, 2005, 9 a.m. Tokyo Stock Exchange opens like any other Thursday. Coffee brewing, computers humming, traders scanning for opportunities. A good deal to make good profits. However, this morning their eyes were on a new stock, JCOM Holdings, going public on the emerging markets. At Mizuho Securities, an employee named Takumi Sako sits at his desk, completely unaware he's about to make the most expensive typo in financial history. Meanwhile, in his cluttered apartment, BNF is doing his morning ritual. Instant ramen, anime on one screen, trading charts on another. Just another day in paradise. Within minutes, panic emerges. BNF couldn't believe his eyes. Neither could other traders. JCOM just had the greatest stock drop in history. Unsure of what was happening, traders were hesitant to buy. Concerns of financial fraud grew, and the internet started going wild. Meanwhile, at Mizuho Securities, Takumi Sato was fearing for his life. He had made a mistake that would cost him his job, and it was too late to stop it. A catastrophic sell order. Instead of selling one share at 610,000 yen, he accidentally listed 610,000 shares at 1 yen each. And once it hit the system, there was no way to reverse it. BNF, hunched over his ramen-stained desk, smells blood in the water. This is it, the moment every trader dreams of. While others hesitate, frozen by fear or suspicion, he attacks. With half his account, 7 million yen, he snags 7,100 shares at the limit down price, grabbing a 49% stake in JCOM. But he isn't the only one to jump at this offer. Everybody wanted a piece. Institutions scrambled to grab what they could. Meanwhile, Mizuho panicked. They tried to reverse the order. They couldn't. They tried to buy the shares back. But now, there were too many buyers. The price rockets as closing approaches. Legal threats fly. Government intervention rumors swirl. Some traders, terrified of consequences, dump their shares and run. However, rogue traders such as BNF did neither. Instead, he remained calm, took a calculated risk and sold a few hundred shares. 6,000 shares remain. The market closes. BNF stares at his position. 6,000 shares of a company that might not exist tomorrow. Half his net worth hanging in the balance. He could lose everything by morning, or make a lifetime fortune. He went for the risk and remained calm, weighing the outcomes in front of him. To him, it was never really about the money. It was a game, and his opponent had just made a huge blind error. The next morning, the government stayed quiet. Mizuho caves, agreeing to buy back shares at a staggering 975,000 yen each. BNF's gamble pays off. 2 billion yen, $17 million in profit from one trade. Overnight, he's dubbed the JCOM Man, a bedroom trader who shook Japan's financial world. This trade got everyone's attention and made it to the news. Billionaire investor Masayoshi Son offers to manage his wealth, but BNF waves him off. Despite Son's $4.3 billion net worth, he had developed a distrust of the system and didn't want to be controlled by anyone. He realized he hated the attention, cared less about fame and money, but loved the art of trading itself. But just as he disappeared from the spotlight, the markets began to shift. And what came next would test everything he thought he knew. By 2008, BNF is a trading titan, a master who's conquered both bear and bull markets. He's cracked the code, adapted to every curveball the Japanese market could throw. But the world is about to serve him a pitch he's never seen before. September 2008. The global financial system is cracking at its foundation. News screams about the US banking collapse and tremors reach the Japanese market. BNF spots what looks like a familiar setup. Lehman Brothers, America's fourth largest investment bank, is down a devastating 73% that year. The charts scream oversold. The fundamentals suggest temporary panic. To him, it's JCOM all over again. A legendary institution beaten down by irrational fear, ripe for a massive rebound. This is his speciality, his bread and butter. His bear market strategy screams, buy. But there's something different this time. Something he should have noticed. This isn't Japan. This isn't his home turf where he knows every heartbeat, every cultural nuance that drives market psychology. Still, the patterns look identical. The setup is too perfect to ignore. He commits. Hard. $6.5 million, a massive chunk of his carefully built fortune, convinced that Lehman's 150-year reputation and too-big-to-fail status will pull it through. September 15, 2008. BNF wakes up to his worst nightmare. Lehman Brothers, gone. Not rescued, not bailed out, completely collapsed. His entire investment evaporates. Overnight, $6.5 million turned to dust. For the first time in his trading career, BNF had broken his most sacred rule. Never trade a market you don't truly understand. The American financial system played by different rules, had different rhythms, different breaking points. And he had just learned the most expensive lesson of his life. Sitting in his apartment, surrounded by the monitors that had made him millions, BNF felt something he hadn't experienced since his early trading days. Genuine fear. Not fear of the market, fear of himself. Fear that maybe he wasn't as invincible as he had believed. He makes a vow that night, staring at the red numbers on his screen. Never again. Never touch the US market again. But as devastating as this loss was, BNF didn't know that the Lehman collapse was just the first domino to fall. The real test was coming, and it would either destroy him completely or forge him into an even greater legend. October the 10th, 2008. The world is in complete freefall. The Lehman collapse triggered a global financial tsunami. The Nikkei 225 plunges like a stone, hammered by the worldwide crisis. Japan's export-heavy economy takes brutal hit after brutal hit. Traders are drowning in an ocean of red, panic selling everywhere. BNF, however, sees something different through the chaos. The Nikkei's drop screams rebound potential, just like the old days. This is his domain, his speciality. The deviation patterns are screaming at him from every screen. After the Lehman disaster, he needs this. He needs to prove to himself that he's still the master of his craft. He buys in, expecting his tried and true deviation strategy to work its magic like it always has. Morning comes. His screen is a sea of red deeper than he's ever seen. The market is worse than he thought. Japan's economic decline feels relentless. His old reliable targets are failing one by one. Most traders would panic. Most would cut losses and run. But BNF stays calm. He's been in the darkness before. This is just another puzzle to solve. He doubles down, analyzing the chaos like a complex game with new rules to master. The revelation hits. The market has evolved. Rebounds are faster now, more violent. His old deviation target, stocks dropping 65% off their 25-day average, are outdated in this new reality. October the 27th, 2008. The Nikkei tanks again, harder than before. BNF recalibrates everything. He adjusts his targets per sector, accounting for the new volatility patterns. He dives in deep, buying hard-hit Nikkei companies across the board. As losses mount, doubt creeps in for the first time. Even his usual anime marathons don't soothe the stress. But this is what separates BNF from every other trader. His discipline isn't just about strategy, it's about mental fortitude. He tunes out the noise, trusts his recalibrated analysis, and goes all in. He builds a massive $64.8 million position across 90 different companies. The Nikkei dips below 7,000. His heart races. Everything he's rebuilt since Lehman is on the line. Then, after the lunch break, it happens. Top stocks begin to rally, sparking a chain reaction across the market. The rebound he had calculated finally arrives. BNF holds overnight, the longest night of his trading career. The next morning, the market surges, exactly as his recalibrated models predicted. He unloads his position systematically, pocketing $12 million in profit. The JCOM Man is back. Japan's trading god risen from the ashes of his greatest failure. Forums like 2channel buzz with awe. He's done the impossible again. But as the comeback trade begins to draw attention to him again, BNF fades into the shadows. Back to ramen and anime, back to being invisible. The spotlight had never been what he wanted. The game itself was the reward, the intellectual challenge, the perfect trade executed in solitude. Rumors swirl. Some say he's a real estate mogul. Others claim he owns a baseball team with a net worth topping $1.5 billion. True or not, his mystery fuels the legend. And somewhere in Tokyo tonight, in an apartment filled with monitors and ramen cups, perhaps the ghost still watches the markets, still searching for patterns in the chaos, still playing the only game that ever mattered, still invisible, still legendary. Until next time, keep your eyes on the patterns.